So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Power Rangers? So let's start the series. He was lying on his back in what appeared to be a park. Above him, impossible, unfamiliar constellations wheeled across a purple twilight sky. 2 moons hung near the horizon, one larger than the other, both casting silver shadows across meticulously manicured grass. Not Konoha, Naruto croaked, and the sound of his own voice made him flinch. It sounded young. Too young. Like it belonged to the brash 12-year-old he'd been before the academy, before Team 7, before everything. He sat up slowly, patting himself down with trembling hands. His body felt wrong. Smaller. The scars were gone, the ones from Sasuke's Chidori, from Pain's rods, from 100 battles hard won. His jumpsuit hung loose on a frame that hadn't yet filled out with years of ramen and training. What the hell? A nearby pond showed him his reflection, whisker marks intact, blue eyes wide with confusion, blonde hair just as wild as ever. But the face looking back at him was the face of a child. 13 maybe? 14 at most. Okay, Naruto said, forcing himself to breathe. Okay. This is fine. Probably a genjutsu. That's all. Just a really realistic genjutsu. He tried to mold his chakra. Nothing happened. He tried again, focusing harder, reaching for the familiar warmth of Kurama's presence in the back of his mind. Still nothing. The silence where the Nine Tails should have been was so profound, so absolute, that Naruto felt something inside him crack. Not the Kyuubi's chakra, that was gone too, but something more fundamental. The part of him that had learned, over years of loneliness, that at least he wasn't truly alone. That somewhere inside him, whether friend or enemy, another consciousness existed. Now there was only empty space. Naruto Uzumaki does not panic, he whispered, echoing Iruka-sensei's words from a lifetime ago. Naruto Uzumaki finds out what's going on and then panics. He stood on shaky legs and looked around. The park was beautiful in a way that felt almost artificial, flowering trees that shouldn't bloom in the same season, paths paved with stones that glowed faintly in the twilight, benches carved from what looked like crystal. In the distance, towers rose against the sky, sleek and modern and utterly unlike anything in the elemental nations. And everywhere, there were symbols. Not clan crests or village insignias, but something else. Geometric designs that pulsed with soft light. Animals rendered in stylized metal, a tyrannosaurus, a mastodon, a saber-toothed tiger. The same 5 colors repeated over and over, red, yellow, blue, black, pink. Where? Naruto started, but a sound cut him off. Footsteps. Multiple sets, moving fast. He dropped into a defensive crouch out of pure instinct, even without chakra to back it up. The old academy taijutsu was still there, at least. Muscle memory didn't care how old his body was. 5 figures emerged from between 2 crystal benches, and Naruto's eyes went wide. They were dressed like nothing he'd ever seen, colorful suits that looked part armor, part cloth, helmets with visors that gleamed in the moonlight. Each one wore a different color, and on their chests, and symbol that matched the animals he'd noticed before, a tyrannosaurus roaring, a mastodon trumpeting, a saber-toothed tiger snarling. Dinosaurs? Naruto muttered. Seriously? The red one stepped forward, helmet retracting to reveal a young face, maybe 17, with dark hair and intense eyes that scanned Naruto with obvious suspicion. Who are you? How did you get past our perimeter? Behind him, the others de-helmeted as well. A girl with a ponytail and a kind face. A big guy with an easy grin. A boy with glasses who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Another girl, this one with fierce eyes and a stance that screamed fighter. Naruto started then stopped. What could he say? Hi, I'm a ninja from another dimension, and I have no idea how I got here, and also I'm apparently 12 again? I don't know, he finally admitted. I don't know where I am or how I got here. 1 minute I was. He couldn't finish. Couldn't say dying. Couldn't make that real. The Red Ranger's expression softened almost imperceptibly. What's your name, kid? Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Kid was right, Naruto realized. Looking at these 5, he was clearly the youngest. The smallest. The most lost. I'm Jason, the Red Ranger said. Jason Lee Scott. This is Kimberly, Zach, Billy, and Trini. He gestured to each in turn. We're the Power Rangers. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, have somehow ended up in Angel Grove, California. Angel Grove? The name meant nothing. Power Rangers? Billy, the one with glasses, pushed them up his nose excitedly. You've never heard of us? Fascinating. The Morphin Grid's energy signatures are detectable across most of the known dimensional spectrum. For someone to be completely unaware of Ranger activity suggests either extraordinary isolation or… Billy, Jason interrupted gently. Maybe tone down the science lecture? Right. Sorry. Trini stepped forward, her dark eyes studying Naruto with an intensity that reminded him uncomfortably of Sasuke. You're scared, she said quietly. And confused. But there's something else in your eyes. Something like grief? Naruto looked away. I don't want to talk about it. That's fair. She surprised him by smiling. But for what it's worth, we've all been through things that left marks. You're not alone here. The words hit him harder than any jutsu ever had. Not alone. Simple words. Common words. Words he'd heard before, from Irika, from Sasuke, from Sakura, from Jiraiya, from… Stop, he told himself fiercely. Stop thinking about them. You'll fall apart if you think about them. I should go, he said abruptly. Find my own way back. I don't want to cause trouble for… That's not an option. Jason's voice was firm but not unkind. We have no idea how you got here, which means we have no idea what else might have come through. Until we figure this out, you're staying with us. For your safety and everyone else's. It wasn't a request. Naruto opened his mouth to argue. He never responded well to being told what to do, but something in Jason's expression stopped him. This wasn't about control. This was about protection. About keeping a scared kid safe in a world he didn't understand. Just like Irika. Just like Kakashi-sensei. Just like… Okay. Naruto heard himself say. Okay. The command center was hidden beneath a rock formation in the hills outside Angel Grove, accessible only through a hidden elevator that descended deep into the earth. Naruto's jaw dropped when the doors opened onto a chamber that looked like something from another world entirely. Walls of gleaming metal covered in screens displaying data he couldn't begin to comprehend. A central platform with what looked like a giant chessboard on the floor. And in the corner, a tube containing… Is that a head? Naruto blurted. The head, and it was definitely just a head, floating in some kind of preservation fluid, opened its eyes and smiled. Greetings, young one. I am Zordon. Naruto's survival instincts, honed by years as a missing Nin target, screamed at him to run. Floating heads that talked were not normal. Floating heads that talked and had glowing eyes were even less normal. But next to Zordon, a small robot with a single round eye beeped cheerfully and rolled forward. Aye, don't be scared. Alpha's here to help. I'm not scared. Naruto lied, his voice squeaking slightly. Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, giggled behind her hand. It's okay. Alpha grows on you. Like fungus, Zack added, dodging a playful swat from the robot. Zordon's voice resonated through the chamber, calm and ancient. Jason has informed me of your arrival, Naruto Uzumaki. The circumstances are troubling. Your dimensional signature does not match any known reality within the Morphin Grid's reach. Morphin Grid? Naruto seized on the unfamiliar term. What's that? The source of all Ranger power, Billy explained, warming to his favorite subject. It's an extra-dimensional energy field that connects all living things across all realities. Every Ranger who has ever existed draws their power from the grid. It's theoretically infinite, practically inexhaustible, and currently behaving very strangely. Zordon interrupted gently. The disturbance that brought you here, Naruto, was not natural. Something pushed through the barriers between worlds. Something with tremendous power and, I suspect, malevolent intent. Naruto's blood ran cold. Something evil? Something ancient. We detected its presence only moments before you appeared. A crack in reality itself, bleeding energy into our dimension. Zordon's eyes seemed to darken. I have not sensed such power since the height of the war with Rita Repulsa. Rita Repulsa. Another name Naruto didn't know. Another piece of a puzzle he couldn't solve. What does it want? He asked. That, Zordon said heavily, is what we must discover. But I fear your arrival is not coincidence, Naruto Uzumaki. You were brought here for a reason. The question is, by whom, and to what end? Naruto thought about the emptiness where Kurama used to be. About the younger body he now inhabited. About the grief that threatened to swallow him whole every time he stopped moving. Maybe, he said quietly, it's about what I am. Or what I used to be. Jason moved to stand beside him, a solid presence at his shoulder. Whatever it is, you're not facing it alone. That's what being a ranger means, standing together. I'm not a ranger, Naruto pointed out. Not yet. Jason's smile was small but genuine. But you're here. And in my experience, the grid doesn't bring people together by accident. The next 3 days passed in a blur of information and adjustment. Billy, clearly thrilled to have a new audience, gave Naruto an exhaustive tour of Angel Grove's highlights, the youth center, where Kimberly spent most of her free time, the juice bar, where Zack had once attempted a world record for smoothie consumption, the high school, currently on summer break, and the beach, where Trini meditated every morning at sunrise. Through it all, Naruto watched and listened and learned. These Power Rangers were nothing like shinobi. They fought because they chose to, not because they were born into it. Their powers came from outside themselves, from coins and morphers and the mysterious grid, rather than from years of grueling training. They were teenagers, actual teenagers, with homework and crushes and arguments about who forgot to do the dishes. And yet, when Jason talked about leading the team, Naruto heard echoes of the Hokage's burden. When Kimberly spoke of protecting the innocent, he heard Sakura's determination to heal. When Zack cracked jokes in the middle of danger, he heard Lee's endless optimism. When Billy geeked out over scientific principles, he heard Shikamaru's genius wrapped in laziness. When Trini meditated, he saw Hinata's quiet strength. They were different. So different. But they were also the same. On the third night, unable to sleep, Naruto found himself on the roof of the house where Jason's family had given him a spare room. The 2 moons hung overhead, and the constellation still made no sense, and somewhere out there, the thing that had brought him here was waiting. Naruto. He turned to find Trini climbing through the window behind him, moving with a grace that spoke of years of practice. Not ninja training, something else. Something calmer. Can't sleep either? He asked. The dreams. She sat down beside him, close enough for comfort but not too close. They've been worse since you arrived. All of us are feeling it, something pressing against the edges of our minds. Zordon says it's the dimensional disturbance affecting the grid. What do you dream about? She was quiet for a moment. Fire. Destruction. A city I've never seen burning. And in the middle of it, a boy with yellow hair, screaming. Naruto's heart stopped. It's you. Trini continued softly. In the dream, it's you. But you're older. Taller. There are scars on your face that don't exist now. And you're reaching for someone who isn't there. That's not a dream, Naruto whispered. That's a memory. Trini turned to look at him, her dark eyes full of understanding. Tell me. And somehow, impossibly, he did. He told her about Konoha and the academy, about Team 7 and the bell test, about Sasuke's defection and the years of chasing shadows. He told her about Jiraiya, the pervy sage who became the closest thing to family he'd ever known, and about pain, and about the rain, and about... He died. Naruto choked out. Jiraiya died, and I couldn't save him. And then the war came, and everyone fought, and I thought if we just won, if we just beat the bad guys, everything would be okay. But it wasn't. Because Sasuke... His voice broke. Trini didn't say anything. She just put an arm around his shoulders and held him while he shook. I don't know if they're alive. Naruto finally managed. In my world. I don't know if I died and came here, or if I'm trapped in some kind of coma, or if... He stopped, the thought too terrible to voice. What if they're all gone? What if I'm all that's left? You're not, Trini said firmly. You're not alone, Naruto. You have us now. And we're going to figure this out together. It was the same thing Jason had said. The same thing they all kept saying. For the first time, Naruto almost believed it. The attack came at dawn. One moment, the sky was clear, painted in the soft colors of sunrise. The next, a rift ripped open above Angel Grove, a wound in reality itself, bleeding darkness that coalesced into forms both familiar and wrong. Monsters. But not like any monsters the Rangers had faced before. These creatures moved with tactical precision, spreading out to surround the city, herding civilians into kill zones. They wore armor marked with symbols that Naruto recognized with horror, the eye of the Sharingan, twisted and corrupted. The fan of the Uchiha clan, dripping with shadow. The spiral of the Uzumaki, broken in half. No, he breathed. No, no, no. Naruto, get back! Jason shouted, already morphing. Rangers! Ready! Tyrannosaurus! Mastodon! Saber-toothed tiger! Triceratops! Pterodactyl! Light exploded across the rooftop as 5 teenagers became 5 warriors. The Power Rangers stood ready, weapons drawn, facing down an army of nightmares. But Naruto couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Because at the center of the monster horde, watching him with eyes that burned like fire, stood a figure he'd hoped never to see again. tall, dark-haired, dressed in armor that seemed to absorb light itself, and wearing the face of Sasuke Uchiha. "Hello, Yuzuritanki," the figure said, and its voice was Sasuke's voice, but wrong, hollow, echoing, full of centuries of hate. "Did you really think death would let you escape?" "That's not Sasuke," Naruto whispered. "That's not." "It is," the thing interrupted. "And it isn't. I am what he could have become. What he would have become, if you'd failed just a little more completely. I am the regret you never acknowledged. The grief you buried. But part of you that knows, deep down, that you could have saved him if you'd just been better." The Rangers moved to surround Naruto, protecting him from the advancing army. "Whatever you are," Jason said coldly, "you're not welcome here." "Oh, but I am welcome." The false Sasuke smiled, and it was terrible. "I'm welcome wherever broken hearts gather. Wherever wounds never fully heal. And this world is full of them. Teenagers with the weight of the universe on their shoulders. Children forced to become soldiers. Warriors who smile through the pain and pretend everything is fine." It raised a hand, and the army surged forward. "Rangers! Attack!" Jason shouted. The battle erupted around Naruto like a storm. The Rangers fought with everything they had, their weapons blazing, their movements perfectly coordinated. But the monsters kept coming, wave after wave, and at the center of it all, the false Sasuke watched and waited. Waiting for Naruto. Waiting for him to break. I could have saved him, Naruto thought, and the thought was acid in his mind. I could have brought him back. If I'd been stronger, faster, smarter. No. The word came from somewhere deep inside him. From the place where Kurama used to sleep. From the core of who he was, stripped of chakra and Jinchuriki power and everything else. "That's not Sasuke. And that's not my guilt. I did everything I could. I gave everything I could. And if you think you can use my pain against me..." He stepped forward, past the Rangers, past the line of battle, until he stood face to face with the monster wearing his best friend's face. "You don't know anything about me." For a moment, something flickered in the false Sasuke's eyes. Confusion? Uncertainty? Then Naruto smiled, not his usual carefree grin, but something harder. Something forged in years of loss and love and the choice to keep going anyway. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I never go back on my word. That's my ninja way. And my word is this, you will not hurt these people." The false Sasuke snarled and lunged. And light exploded between them. Not the light of Ranger morphing, or the glow of weapons, or anything Naruto had ever seen before. This light came from inside him, pouring out of the empty space where Kurama used to be, filling him with warmth and power and something else, something that felt like connection. The Morphin Grid, he realized dimly. It was responding to him. To his resolve. To his refusal to give up. On his hand, a device materialized, a morpher unlike any the Rangers had ever seen. Shaped like a spiral, marked with 9 tails, pulsing with power that was part chakra and part grid and part something else entirely. "What?" Jason stared. "How?" Naruto looked at the morpher, then at the false Sasuke, then at the Rangers who had taken him in when he had nothing. "I don't know how this works," he admitted. "But I know one thing." He raised the morpher high. "I'm not running anymore. Not from my past. Not from my pain. Not from anything." The morpher blazed with light. "Ninja spirit! Let's go!" And the world changed forever. For one terrifying moment, Naruto ceased to exist as a separate being, his consciousness expanding outward, touching something vast and ancient and impossibly beautiful. The Morphin Grid, he realized. This was what Billy had tried to explain. This ocean of energy that connected every living thing across every dimension, every timeline, every possibility. And in that ocean, he saw them. Faces. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Rangers from worlds he couldn't imagine, wearing colors that didn't exist in nature, fighting battles that spanned the scope of creation. Red Rangers and Blue Rangers and Pink Rangers and Green Rangers and colors beyond colors, all of them connected, all of them one. And among them, for just a fraction of a heartbeat, he saw familiar faces. Sasuke, older than Naruto had ever seen him, wearing armor of deepest black with crimson accents. Sakura, her pink hair unmistakable, her morpher shaped like a medical symbol. Kakashi, mask in place even here, one eye crinkled in that familiar smile. Jiraiya, laughing, surrounded by light. And Kurama. The 9 tails looked exactly as Naruto remembered, massive, terrible, beautiful, but in his eyes, there was no hatred. No malice. only the grudging affection that had grown between them over years of shared struggle. You're not gone, Naruto realized. None of you are gone. You're here. In the grid. In me. Always. Then the vision ended, and he was here, standing in the middle of a battlefield, transformed into something new. The Rangers stared. His suit was unlike any they'd seen before. Orange, a color unknown in Ranger history, with black accents that spiraled around his limbs like foxtails. His helmet was shaped vaguely like a fox's head, with whisker marks etched into the visor and 9 tails flowing behind it like a mane. On his chest, the symbol of the Uzumaki clan blazed in gold. What? Kimberly breathed. What is that? Naruto looked down at his hands, at the power thrumming through his transformed body. I think it's me. All of me. The ninja and whatever I am now. The false Sasuke had stopped mid-lunge, its expression shifting from confidence to something like fear. Impossible. You're cut off from your world. Your chakra is gone. You shouldn't be able to. I told you. Naruto's voice came through the helmet, distorted but unmistakable. You don't know anything about me. He moved. Later, the Rangers would try to describe what happened, and none of them would quite succeed. It wasn't like their fighting style, the coordinated strikes and planned formations. It wasn't like anything they'd ever seen. Naruto moved like water, like wind, like chaos made purposeful. His hands flashed through signs that meant nothing to them but clearly meant something to the monsters, because the monsters flinched. Shadow Clone Jutsu! The words meant nothing, but the effect was undeniable. Naruto multiplied, a dozen orange-clad rangers spreading across the battlefield, engaging the monster army from every angle at once. That's impossible, Billy stammered. The energy requirements alone, the grid doesn't, he can't. He just did, Jason interrupted. Rangers! Support him! They plunged back into the fight, but it was different now. Naruto had broken something in the enemy's formation, shattered their confidence. The monsters fought mechanically, without the tactical precision they'd shown before, and the Rangers exploited every opening. At the center of the chaos, the false Sasuke watched Naruto with an expression that shifted between rage and something that looked almost like recognition. You're stronger than I expected, it admitted when Naruto's clones finally faded and the original stood before it once more. But strength isn't enough. You know that better than most. It raised a hand, and the shadows around it deepened, congealing into forms that made Naruto's blood run cold. Jiraiya. His face peaceful, his eyes closed, his body covered in the wounds of his last battle. Sakura. Broken and bleeding, reaching for someone who wasn't there. Kakashi. Impaled, his single eye staring at nothing. And Sasuke. The real Sasuke, or a version of him, standing apart from the others, his expression blank, his eyes empty. No, Naruto whispered. No, you can't. Can't what? The false Sasuke smiled. Show you the truth? The people you failed? The ones who died because you weren't strong enough to save them? They're not. Aren't they? The shadows shifted, and suddenly Naruto was there, in the rain, on the night Jiraiya died. He felt the pavement beneath his feet, tasted the blood in the air, heard the last words his mentor ever spoke. Naruto. I believe in you. I'm not falling for this. Naruto gritted out, but his voice shook. This is genjutsu. Illusion. It's not real. It's real enough. The false Sasuke's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Real enough to hurt. Real enough to break you. That's all reality is, after all, what we can't escape. What we can't forget. What we can't forgive ourselves for. Naruto closed his eyes. Behind him, the Rangers fought on, but they were losing. The monster army was too large, too coordinated, and without Naruto's clones to disrupt them, they'd regained their tactical advantage. Jason was pinned down by 3 creatures at once. Kimberly's bow was empty. Zack's power axe sparked and died. They needed him. But he couldn't move. Couldn't think past the images burning behind his eyelids. Jiraiya falling. Sakura crying. Sasuke walking away. Over and over and over. Do you remember what I told you? The voice came from nowhere and everywhere. Not Kurama, deeper than that. Older. The ones who are gone are never truly gone. Not if you carry them with you. Naruto's eyes snapped open. That's right, he whispered. That's right. He looked at the false Sasuke, at the shadows it had conjured, at the pain it was trying to weaponize. And for the first time since arriving in this world, he smiled, a real smile, the kind that had convinced generations of enemies to become friends. You think this is new to me? You think I haven't faced my failures before? He spread his arms wide, inviting the shadows to do their worst. I've failed more times than you can imagine. I've lost people I loved. I've made mistakes that cost lives. And you know what? I'm still here. The false Sasuke's expression flickered. Because that's what being a ninja means. That's what being a person means. You don't get to stop just because things hurt. You keep going. You keep fighting. You keep believing, in yourself, in your friends, in the possibility that tomorrow can be better than today. He stepped forward, and the shadows recoiled. And you, whatever you are, you're just a ghost. A collection of regrets and fears with nothing real underneath. So do your worst. I've faced down gods and demons and the literal embodiment of hatred. You're nothing. For a long moment, the false Sasuke just stared at him. Then it screamed. The sound was terrible, not a physical noise but something that tore at the mind, at the soul, at the very fabric of reality. The monster army dissolved into shadow and streamed back into their leader, and the false Sasuke grew, swelling with power, until it towered over the battlefield like a god of darkness. You want real? It thundered. I'll show you real. I'll show you what's been waiting in the void between worlds. I'll show you. Sasuke. The name stopped it cold. Naruto stood before the towering monster, tiny and insignificant, and utterly unafraid. I don't know if any part of the real Sasuke is in there somewhere. But if there is, I want him to hear this. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry. For everything. For not being able to save you sooner. For not understanding what you were going through. For every time I failed you. The monster trembled. But I never gave up on you. Not for a second. Not even when everyone else did. And I never will. That's my promise. My nindo. My ninja way. Something cracked in the monster's chest. Not physically, not yet. But something deeper. Something that had been frozen for longer than anyone could remember. Sasuke. The monster whispered, and for just a moment, its voice wasn't hollow. Wasn't wrong. For just a moment, it sounded like the boy Naruto had grown up with. The friend he'd chased across continents. The brother he'd never stopped loving. Then the moment passed, and the monster roared, and the battle resumed. But something had changed. The Rangers felt it first, a shift in the enemy's energy, a hesitation in its attacks. Then Naruto felt it, the shadows around them were thinning, losing their solidity, becoming less real. You're losing control, he said quietly. Whatever's holding you together, it's breaking. Silence! The monster lashed out with shadowy tendrils, but Naruto dodged easily, his new ranger speed making the movements feel almost lazy. He'd fought faster enemies. Stronger enemies. Enemies that actually wanted to kill him, rather than whatever complicated mix of emotions was driving this one. Jason! He called. I need you to trust me. Jason, fighting off the last of the shadow creatures, looked up. What do you need? A distraction? Something big. Something that'll make it focus on you instead of me. What are you planning? Naruto looked at the monster, at the crack in its chest where something almost human still flickered. I'm going to talk to my friend. The Rangers attacked as one. Tyrannosaurus and Mastodon, and saber-toothed tiger and Triceratops and Pterodactyl, their power combined in a coordinated assault that would have leveled a small mountain. The monster met them head-on, its shadowy form expanding to absorb their strikes, and for precious seconds, its attention was elsewhere. Naruto moved. He wasn't the fastest ninja in his world. That title had always belonged to the Yellow Flash, his father, or to the various Sharingan users who could teleport through dimensions. But he was fast enough. Fast enough to close the distance while the monster was distracted. Fast enough to reach the crack in its chest. Fast enough to reach inside. The moment his hand touched the light within, everything stopped. He was somewhere else. Somewhere that wasn't a place at all, just a void of memory and pain and Sasuke. Sasuke as a child, running through the Uchiha district, laughing. Sasuke as a genin, standing over Naruto after a failed mission, pretending he hadn't just saved his rival's life. Sasuke as a missing nin, his eyes hollow, his voice flat, telling Naruto they could never be friends again. Sasuke as this? Trapped. Alone. Surrounded by shadows that whispered his failures, his losses, his hate. Sasuke. Naruto's voice echoed in the void. Can you hear me? For a long moment, nothing. Then, go away. The words were barely a whisper, but they were Sasuke's words. Not the monster's. Not the shadows. Sasuke's. I'm not going anywhere. You should. I'm. A pause. I don't know what I am anymore. When we died, I thought it would be over. The pain. The anger. The emptiness. But it wasn't. It just spread. Infected other things. Other worlds. And now. Now you're hurting people who don't deserve it. I know. The whisper cracked. I know, Dobe. You think I wanted this? You think I chose to become that? Naruto moved toward the voice, through shadows that tried to hold him back, through memories that tried to drag him down. Finally, at the center of the void, he found him. Sasuke, curled in on himself, surrounded by darkness. But alive. Real. The Sasuke Naruto had known his whole life. I'm sorry, Sasuke said, and the words seemed to cost him everything. I'm sorry for everything. For leaving. For trying to kill you. For this. For whatever's happening out there. Not your fault. It is my fault. It's always my fault. The clan, the village, you, everything I touch turns to. Stop. Naruto knelt beside him, close enough to touch, but not quite touching. I spent years chasing you, team. Years believing I could save you, bring you back, make things right. And you know what I learned? Sasuke didn't answer. I learned that it wasn't about saving you. It was about being there for you. Not as a project. Not as a mission. As a friend. He hesitated, then pushed forward. As a brother. Because that's what we are, aren't we? Closer than family. Bound by something stronger than blood. Slowly, painfully, Sasuke looked up. His eyes were red, not the Sharingan's red, but the red of someone who'd been crying for longer than he could remember. I don't deserve. Not your choice to make. Naruto smiled, and it was the same smile that had won over every enemy, every friend, every person who'd ever tried to hate him. I decide who deserves what from me. And I've already decided about you. A long time ago. He held out his hand. Come home, Sasuke. Or at least come back from wherever this is. Help me fix what's broken. Help me protect these people who've helped me when they didn't have to. Help me live. Sasuke stared at the offered hand for a long, long moment. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it. The monster exploded. Not destructively, not in the way that would have hurt anyone. It simply dissolved, the shadows peeling away like morning mist, revealing the being at its core. A boy maybe 16, with dark hair and pale skin and eyes that held the weight of worlds. He fell. Naruto caught him. Gotcha, he whispered. Behind them, the rangers stared in disbelief. The army was gone. The monster was gone. In their place stood an orange-clad ranger holding an unconscious teenager who looked vaguely familiar, though none of them could say why. Is that? Jason started. The friend I told you about. Naruto's voice was thick. The one I thought I'd lost. He's here. He's alive. For now. Billy was already scanning with his wrist computer. But his vital signs are extremely unstable. Whatever was animating that monster form, it was keeping him alive. Without it. Take him to the command center. Zordon's voice echoed from somewhere, Naruto's morpher, he realized, which seemed to have built-in communication. Alpha can stabilize him. But hurry, his connection to the void is fading, and without it. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Naruto looked down at Sasuke's pale face, at the peace that had finally settled over his features, at the hand still clutching his own. I just got you back, he whispered. I'm not losing you again. Then, with the rangers flanking him protectively, he ran. The command center hummed with urgency. Alpha 5's mechanical arms moved in a blur, attaching monitoring devices to Sasuke's unconscious form, while Billy fed data into the main computer as fast as his fingers could type. On the main view screen, Zordon's face was etched with concern, an expression that looked strange on features designed to radiate calm wisdom. His energy signature is stabilizing, Alpha reported, his usual cheerful tone subdued. But it's unlike anything in my databases. It's part grid, part something else. Something that doesn't belong to any dimension I know. The void, Naruto said quietly. He hadn't moved from Sasuke's side since they'd arrived, one hand resting on his friend's shoulder, as if afraid he'd disappear if let go. That's what he called it. The space between worlds where broken things go. Jason stood behind him, a silent pillar of support. The others had spread out around the room, giving Naruto space while staying close enough to help if needed. Zordon, Jason said. What exactly is this void? And how did it create that thing we fought? A question I have been contemplating since your return. Zordon's voice was heavy. The morphin grid connects all realities, all possibilities. But connections can be broken. When they are, the fragments don't simply vanish. They accumulate in the spaces between, a graveyard of discarded timelines and forgotten potential. And something's been collecting those fragments. Trini realized. Building something with them. Building someone, Zordon corrected. The being you faced was not a natural formation. It was created deliberately, shaped with purpose. The question is, by whom? And to what end? On the table, Sasuke stirred. Naruto was instantly alert, leaning closer. Sasuke? Can you hear me? Dark eyes fluttered open, real eyes, Naruto noted with relief, not the Sharingan's crimson. For a moment, Sasuke just stared at the unfamiliar ceiling, his expression blank. Then his gaze found Naruto's face, and something shifted in those dark depths. Recognition. Relief. And underneath it, a bone-deep weariness that spoke of centuries of pain compressed into a single lifetime. Dope, he croaked. You're alive. Me? You're the one who just spent. How long were you in that thing? Sasuke's eyes closed again. I don't know. Time doesn't work the same in the void. It could have been days. Years. Centuries. A pause. Eternity. Kimberly stepped forward, her kind face full of sympathy. Can you tell us what happened? How you got there? For a long moment, Sasuke was silent. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat, the voice of someone describing events that had happened to someone else. The last battle. We won. But winning cost me. I'd pushed too hard, used too much. The Rinnegan, the Sharingan, all of it. When it was over, when the fighting stopped. He opened his eyes, staring at nothing. I just fell apart. Literally. My body dissolved into light. Into nothing. And then I was in the void, and I wasn't alone. What was with you? Naruto asked. Shadows. Whispers. Versions of me from timelines that never happened. Sasuke who killed Naruto. Sasuke who destroyed the village. Sasuke who became the monster everyone always feared he would be. His voice cracked. They showed me everything I could have become. Everything I almost became. And after a while, I couldn't tell which was real anymore. Which was me. Trini moved to Naruto's other side, her presence a quiet comfort. But you're out now. Naruto reached you. Sasuke's eyes found Naruto's again. He always does. Stupid dope never knows when to quit. Sticks and stones team? But Naruto was smiling, a watery, emotional smile that made his eyes shine. So what now? How do we get you home? How do we get me home? That, Zordon's voice was hesitant, may be more complicated than we hoped. The rift that brought you here has closed. And without a clear connection to your original dimension, reopening it would be like finding a single grain of sand in an infinite desert. Naruto's smile faded. So we're stuck here? For now. But perhaps not permanently. The morphin grid is vast, but it is not infinite. With time and study, we may be able to locate your home dimension and create a new connection. How much time? Zordon's silence was answer enough. The days that followed were strange for everyone. Sasuke, once he recovered enough to move, proved to be a difficult patient. He refused to stay in the command center, insisted on exploring Angel Grove, and glared at anyone who tried to tell him what to do. The Rangers, accustomed to teamwork and cooperation, found him infuriating. Naruto found him familiar. You're being an ass again, he observed one afternoon, finding Sasuke on a hill overlooking the city. The two moons were rising, and the younger Sasuke, because he was younger here, too, Naruto realized, whatever had happened in the void had stripped years from both of them, sat with his back against a tree, staring at the alien sky. I'm always an ass. You're the one who keeps following me around. Someone has to make sure you don't start a war with the locals. Sasuke's lip twitched, almost a smile. They're so trusting. All of them. Jason, the red one. He barely knows us, and he'd die for us. I've seen it in his eyes. That's what Rangers do. They protect people. Even people they don't know. It's stupid. It's amazing. Naruto sat down beside him, close enough to feel the faint warmth of Sasuke's presence. In our world, trust was something you earned over years. If you earned it at all. Here, they just give it. Freely. Like it costs nothing. It costs everything. They just don't know it yet. Naruto was quiet for a moment. Then, is that what the void showed you? That trust costs everything? Sasuke's jaw tightened. Among other things. Want to talk about it? No. Okay. Silence stretched between them, comfortable and familiar. They'd spent years like this, arguing, competing, then falling into wordless companionship when words became too heavy. Finally, Sasuke spoke. There was a version of you in there. In the void. A you who'd given up. Who'd stopped believing in me, in us, in anything. He was hollow. Empty. Like all the light had been drained out of him. Naruto shivered. That's not me. I know. That's why I could tell it wasn't real. The real you is too stupid to ever give up on anyone. Was that a compliment? Don't push it. They sat in silence as the moons climbed higher. Below them, Angel Grove sparkled with lights, homes and businesses and lives being lived without fear, without constant threat of invasion. It was peaceful in a way the elemental nations had never been. Do you think we could stay here? Naruto asked quietly. If we can't go back? Do you think we could make a life in this world? Sasuke considered. The Rangers would let us. They'd find us places to live, things to do. Jason practically offered adoption papers yesterday. He did not. He basically did. Very badly disguised as we should think about your long-term situation. Naruto laughed, a real laugh, bright and warm. He means well. They all mean well. That's the problem. Sasuke turned to look at him directly. In our world, everyone had angles. Hidden agendas. Secrets. Here they're just good. Genuinely good. It's unsettling. You'll get used to it. Will I? Naruto didn't have an answer for that. The monster attacked 3 weeks later. It came through a rift identical to the one that had brought Naruto, sudden, violent, tearing open the sky above Angel Grove like a wound. But where the first rift had bled shadow, this one bled fire. And from the fire stepped a figure that made even Sasuke's eyes go wide. She was beautiful in the way that volcanoes are beautiful, terrifying, destructive, impossible to look away from. Red hair cascaded down her back like flowing lava. Gold armor covered her body in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move. And in her eyes burned the same fire that had consumed entire nations in Naruto's world. Rangers, she said, and her voice was music and menace combined. I am the Empress of 1,000 conquered worlds. I have come to claim this one as my own. Surrender now, and I may let some of you live. Who the heck is that? Zack demanded, already reaching for his morpher. I don't know, Jason admitted. But she's not from any dimension we've encountered. On the hill overlooking the city, Naruto and Sasuke watched the newcomer descend toward Angel Grove. That's not from the void, Sasuke said quietly. That's something else. Something older. How can you tell? Because the void feels like nothing. Like absence. She feels like presence. Like she's been somewhere real, done real things, conquered real worlds. His Sharingan activated instinctively, studying the figure below. She's dangerous, Naruto. More dangerous than anything we've faced. Then we'd better help. They ran. The battle was unlike anything the Rangers had experienced. The Empress, she never gave her name, and somehow none of them thought to ask, fought with a casual grace that suggested she was barely trying. Her fire-based attacks overwhelmed Kimberly's arrows, melted Zack's power axe, forced Jason to abandon his power sword before it became slag in his hands. Even combined, even fighting with everything they had, the Rangers were losing. Then Naruto and Sasuke arrived. Naruto transformed instantly, orange light blazing around him as the Ninja Ranger morpher activated. Ninja spirit! Let's go! Sasuke watched, his expression unreadable, as his friend joined the battle. Without a morpher of his own, without chakra, without anything but the skills etched into his muscle memory, he was useless. Or was he? In the void he'd learned things. Felt things. Understood things about the nature of reality that no living being was meant to know. And one of those things was this: the grid wasn't the only source of power in the multiverse. There were others. Older ones. Darker ones. And some of them had taken an interest in him. Sasuke Uchiha. The voice came from nowhere and everywhere, familiar and strange, ancient and newborn. You carry the weight of a clan's destruction. The blood of your brother. The love of your friend. Such interesting contradictions. Who are you? He didn't speak aloud, but he didn't have to. I am what you could become. What you will become, if you choose the path of power over the path of connection. I am the Rinnegan's true potential, unlocked without the burden of compassion. Tempting. But I've already walked that road. It leads nowhere. Then walk a new one. Take what I offer. Become what you were always meant to be. Below, Naruto was fighting valiantly, but even his new ranger powers weren't enough. The Empress batted him aside like an insect, her fire searing his orange armor, sending him crashing into a building. Sasuke's heart clenched. He will die without you. They all will. Is that what you want? To watch him fall, knowing you could have saved him? No. Then take my power. Take it and... I said no. Sasuke's eyes blazed open, not Sharingan, not Rinnegan, but something new. Something born of the void and the grid and his own stubborn refusal to be anyone's puppet. I don't need your power. I don't need anyone's power. I have what I've always had, the stupid dobe who never gives up on me, and the team that took us in when they didn't have to. That's enough. The voice screamed in frustration and faded. And Sasuke moved. He couldn't morph. He couldn't channel chakra. But he'd been the last Uchiha, the Avenger, the rival of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. He'd trained with Orochimaru, fought alongside Itachi, mastered techniques that would have destroyed lesser men. He didn't need power. He was power. His first strike caught the Empress by surprise, a kunai to the back of her knee that made her stumble. His second drew blood from her cheek. His third, fourth, fifth came so fast they were almost simultaneous, a flurry of attacks that forced even a conquering Empress to retreat. What are you? She demanded, her fires guttering in confusion. I'm the ghost of a dead clan, Sasuke answered. I'm the shadow of a murdered brother. I'm the nightmare of every enemy who ever underestimated me. He smiled, and it was terrifying. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. And you're standing between me and my friend. Behind him, Naruto struggled to his feet, orange armor cracked and smoking but still functional. Team, you didn't have to. Shut up, Dobe. But there was warmth in the words. We finished this together. The Empress laughed, a genuine laugh, full of genuine amusement. Together? You two against an army? Against me? Not just them. Jason stepped forward, battered but unbowed. Behind him, the other Rangers regrouped, their weapons reforged by sheer determination. Rangers, Jason said quietly. Let's show her what teamwork really means. They attacked as one, 5 Rangers and 2 ninja, moving in perfect synchronization despite never having trained together. Naruto's clones multiplied the assault. Sasuke's precision strikes found every weakness. The Rangers' coordinated attacks kept the Empress off balance, unable to focus on any single threat. For the first time, she looked uncertain. This isn't possible, she snarled. I've conquered dimensions. Destroyed civilizations. I am invincible. No one's invincible, Naruto said. Everyone has weaknesses. Everyone has people they care about, things they're afraid of losing. He moved closer, ignoring the heat radiating from her. Even you. Her eyes widened. How did you? I've been where you are. Consumed by rage. Blinded by pain. Thinking that if I just got strong enough, took enough power, nothing could hurt me anymore. He shook his head. It doesn't work that way. The hurt just gets buried deeper. And one day it explodes. The Empress's fires flickered. I don't know what made you this way, Naruto continued. What losses, what griefs, what betrayals. But I know this, you don't have to be defined by them. You can choose something different. You can choose to heal. For a long moment, the Empress just stared at him. Then, slowly, impossibly, her fires dimmed. You're a fool, she whispered. A beautiful, impossible fool. I've been told. The things that made me, they're too deep. Too old. I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't just choose to be different. No. But you can choose to try. And that's enough. That's always enough. The Empress closed her eyes. When she opened them again, the fire was gone. In its place was something that looked almost like peace. Perhaps, she said quietly, it's time I tried. And then she was gone, not defeated, not destroyed, simply gone. Back to wherever she'd come from, carrying with her the seed of a possibility she'd never considered before. The rift closed behind her. Silence fell over Angel Grove. That, Zack said after a long moment, was the weirdest battle we've ever fought. Definitely top 5, Kimberly agreed weakly. Naruto turned to Sasuke, a huge grin spreading across his face. We did it! We actually... He stopped. Sasuke was staring at his hands, at the faint glow still emanating from them, at something only he could see. Team? You okay? Slowly, Sasuke looked up. His eyes were wide with something that might have been wonder. I think, he said carefully, I think the grid just claimed me. And on his wrist, as if summoned by the words, a morpher materialized, black and red, shaped like a crow's wing, pulsing with power that was equal parts darkness and light. The Crow Ranger had been born. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of adjustment. Sasuke's new morpher, unlike anything in Ranger history, defied all of Billy's attempts to analyze it. It responded to Sasuke's emotions, growing stronger when he was calm and weaker when he was agitated, the opposite of how most Ranger powers worked. It allowed him to create shadow constructs that mimicked his old jutsu, from shadow clones to Chidori-like lightning blades. And it connected him to the void in ways that worried even Zordon. You carry a piece of that place within you now, the ancient mentor explained. The void marked you during your imprisonment. That mark has become part of your Ranger identity. It is both gift and curse, power beyond imagining, but power that could consume you if you lose control. Sasuke had accepted this with his usual stoicism. I've carried worse. Naruto, meanwhile, was thriving. His Ninja Ranger powers grew stronger each day, his connection to the grid deepening as he trained with the team. He developed techniques that blended ninja skills with Ranger abilities, Rasengan enhanced by grid energy, shadow clones that could morph independently, even a version of the Ninetales chakra mode that manifested as golden fox fire around his orange armor. You're adapting faster than anyone I've ever seen, Jason admitted during one training session. It's like you were born to be a ranger. Maybe I was, Naruto grinned. Maybe the grid's been waiting for me all along. Or maybe you just refuse to be bad at anything. But Jason was smiling too. The team had integrated the two newcomers seamlessly. Kimberly and Naruto bonded over their shared optimism and love of terrible jokes. Zack and Sasuke discovered a mutual appreciation for efficient combat, Zack's street fighting background meshing surprisingly well with Sasuke's assassination techniques. Trini found a kindred spirit in Naruto's emotional openness, while Billy and Sasuke shared quiet conversations about the nature of power and connection. And Jason watched over them all like the leader he was, ensuring that two lost souls from another world found a home in this one. It was almost perfect. Almost. The dream started on a Tuesday. Naruto woke gasping, his sheets soaked with sweat, the image of a burning village seared into his mind. Not Konoha, somewhere else. Somewhere with towers of glass and steel, with streets full of people who looked like the Rangers' friends and families. In the dream, they were all dying. Naruto? Jason's voice came through the door, concerned. You okay? I heard shouting. Yeah, fine. But his voice shook. Just a nightmare. A pause. Then, want to talk about it? Naruto thought about the burning towers, the screaming crowds, the figure at the center of it all, a ranger in black armor, his face hidden, his hands stained with blood. No. Not yet. Across town, Sasuke woke from the same dream with his Sharingan active and a kunai in his hand. He'd seen the same burning city, the same dying crowds. But he'd also seen something Naruto missed. The black-armored ranger had Sasuke's eyes. We need to talk to Zordon. Sasuke's voice was flat, but his eyes betrayed his urgency. He'd gathered the rangers in the youth center's juice bar, away from the command center's monitors and Alpha's constant monitoring. About what? Jason asked, setting down his smoothie. The dreams. You've all been having them, haven't you? Silence answered him. Finally, Trini nodded. Every night for the past week. A city burning. People dying. And a ranger. In black armor. Sasuke finished. With my eyes. Kimberly paled. Your eyes? Like the red thing? The Sharingan. A copy ability that lets me see and predict movements. In the dream, that ranger had it. But it was wrong. Corrupted. Like the void versions of me. Billy pushed his glasses up nervously. You think this is a vision? Some kind of prophecy? I think something's trying to warn us. Or threaten us. Sasuke's jaw tightened. And I think it's connected to the void. Naruto, who'd been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. In the dream, I couldn't save anyone. I tried, I used everything, all my powers, all my techniques, but nothing worked. Everyone just kept dying. That's not like you, Zack observed. You're the guy who never gives up. In the dream, I did. At the end, I just stopped. Let it happen. Naruto's hands were shaking. What kind of person does that? The kind who's been broken, Sasuke answered quietly. The kind who's lost everything. The kind the void was trying to make me into. The parallel hung in the air between them. So what do we do? Kimberly asked. If this is a warning, we need to prepare. Figure out what's coming and stop it before. We can't stop it. Everyone turned to stare at Naruto. What do you mean we can't stop it? Jason demanded. We're Power Rangers. We stop things. That's literally our job. Not this. Naruto's eyes were distant, seeing something none of them could. This is different. This is what happens when hope dies. When the last light goes out. When even Rangers give up. How do you know that? Because I felt it. In the dream. That feeling, it wasn't just despair. It was certainty. The knowledge that nothing matters, nothing will ever matter again, that fighting is just delaying the inevitable. He looked at Sasuke. You felt it too, didn't you? In the void? Sasuke nodded slowly. For 1,000 years. Maybe more. Time doesn't exist there, but the feeling does. The weight of everything you've lost, everyone you've failed, every choice that led you to that moment. So we're facing an enemy that can make us feel that way. Zack shook his head. How do you fight that? I don't know. Naruto's voice was small. I really don't know. Zordon's face was grave when they assembled in the command center. I have been monitoring the grid's energy patterns for weeks, searching for the source of your dreams. What I have found is troubling. Alpha projected an image on the main screen, a dark star, pulsing with malevolent light, surrounded by tendrils that reach toward countless dimensions. This is what the void has become. What it was always becoming, perhaps. The collected grief and regret of every fallen ranger, every failed timeline, every hope extinguished before its time. It has been growing for eons, feeding on loss, waiting for the moment when it could break through into the living dimensions. And that moment is now? Jason asked. That moment approaches. The dreams you've been having are not warnings, they are broadcasts. The void is showing you what it intends to create. A world where even rangers despair. Where even heroes fall. Where the last light goes out forever. But why show us? Kimberly's voice was unsteady. If it's going to win anyway, why warn us? Because it wants you to try to stop it. Sasuke's voice was cold. It wants you to fight, to struggle, to hope. And then it wants to take all of that away. The void doesn't just want to destroy, it wants to break. To prove that nothing matters, that resistance is futile, that even the strongest hope will eventually die. That's sick, Zack muttered. That's the void. I lived there, remember? Sasuke's eyes were dark. I felt what it feels. It's not evil in the way Rita is evil, or the Empress was evil. It's evil in the way gravity is evil, impersonal, inevitable, absolutely certain of its victory. Naruto had been quiet throughout the discussion, his eyes fixed on the dark star pulsing on the screen. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. What if it's right? The room went silent. Naruto. Jason started. No, listen. What if the void is right? What if nothing does matter? What if all our fighting, all our sacrifices, all our hopes, what if they're just delaying something that's going to happen anyway? He looked at Sasuke, and there was something broken in his eyes. You felt it. In the void. The certainty. The weight. What if that's the truth, and everything else is just lying to ourselves? Sasuke held his gaze for a long moment. Then he crossed the room and punched Naruto in the arm. Oh. What the? Shut up. Sasuke's voice was fierce. You want to know what the void's truth is? I'll tell you. It's the truth of someone who's given up. Who's stopped trying. Who's decided that because they can't save everyone, they won't save anyone. That's not truth, that's cowardice dressed up in fancy words. Naruto stared at him, rubbing his arm. I spent 1,000 years in that place. 1,000 years listening to those whispers. And you know what I learned? The void lies. It tells you that nothing matters so you'll stop trying. It tells you that hope is pointless so you'll let go of it. And once you do, once you really believe that nothing matters, then you're it's. Forever. But the certainty was an illusion. A trick. The void can't create certainty because certainty doesn't exist. Not in the void, not in the real world, not anywhere. All we have is choice. All we have is the decision to keep going, keep fighting, keep hoping, even when, especially when, everything tells us to stop. He grabbed Naruto's shoulders, forcing his friend to meet his eyes. You taught me that, dope. In our world, when I'd given up on everything, when I'd convinced myself that the only path forward was destruction and hatred, you kept coming after me. You never stopped believing that I could come back, that there was still good in me, that I mattered. And you were right. You were right. Naruto's eyes were shining. So don't you dare tell me the void is right. Don't you dare give up now. Because if you do, if you stop believing, then everything you taught me, everything you gave me, it all becomes meaningless. And I refuse to let that happen. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Naruto's face crumpled, and he threw his arms around Sasuke in a hug that would have crushed a normal person. You jerk. He sobbed into Sasuke's shoulder. You absolute jerk. Making me cry in front of everyone. Sasuke stood stiffly for a moment, then, slowly, awkwardly, hugged back. Idiot. Behind them, Kimberly was openly crying. Trini had a hand over her mouth. Even Jason's eyes looked suspiciously bright. That, Zack said softly, was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Shut up, Zack. The void attacked 3 days later. But this time, the Rangers were ready. Not for the battle. No one could be ready for that. The void didn't send monsters or armies or even a single powerful enemy. It sent doubt. It sent fear. It sent every insecurity, every failure, every moment of weakness each ranger had ever experienced, amplified and weaponized and turned against them. Jason saw himself failing his team, getting them all killed because of a bad decision. Kimberly saw herself abandoned, alone, forgotten by everyone she loved. Zack saw himself as a coward, running from battle while others died. Billy saw himself as useless, his intelligence worthless against forces he couldn't understand. Trini saw herself as a monster, her inner darkness consuming everything good in her life. Naruto saw his world burning, everyone he loved dead, and himself alone in the ashes. Sasuke saw himself becoming the very thing he fought against, a destroyer, a monster, a being of pure hatred with nothing left to love. They fell, one by one, to their knees. All except one. Naruto stood. Not because he was stronger than the others. Not because his doubts were lesser or his will greater. He stood because of something Sasuke had said in the command center, something that had lodged in his heart and refused to leave. You taught me that, dope. He taught Sasuke. The Avenger, the prodigy, the genius who'd surpassed everyone, he'd learned something from Naruto. Something important enough to carry through 1,000 years in the void. Something important enough to bring back and share when Naruto needed it most. Hey, he said quietly, and his voice cut through the void's whispers like sunlight through fog. Hey, void. I want to tell you something. The darkness paused, curious. In my world there was this guy. The strongest guy I ever met. He could have destroyed everything, my village, my friends, me. He had the power to do it. And for a long time, he wanted to. But he didn't. You know why? The void didn't answer, but Naruto didn't need it to. Because someone believed in him. Someone refused to give up on him, no matter what he did, no matter how far he fell. And that belief, it changed him. It saved him. It made him into someone who could come back from the darkness and help others do the same. He looked around at his fallen friends, the Rangers who'd taken him in, the team that had become his new family, the people who'd shown him that hope existed in every world, not just his own. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the smartest. I'm not even the best fighter. But I am the one who never gives up. That's my Nindo. That's my ninja way. And right now, my way is telling me that the void is full of crap. He reached down and grabbed Jason's hand, pulling him to his feet. You're the best leader I've ever seen. Your team trusts you with their lives. That's not weakness, that's strength. He moved to Kimberly. You're braver than you know. You fight even when you're scared. That's not abandonment, that's courage. To Zack. You're the heart of this team. You keep everyone laughing even when things are hard. That's not cowardice, that's love. To Billy. You're brilliant. You see things no one else can. That's not uselessness, that's genius. To Trini. You're not a monster. You're the most compassionate person I know. Your darkness doesn't define you, your light does. And finally to Sasuke. And you. He smiled, tears streaming down his face. You're my best friend. My brother. The person I'd chase across dimensions, through death itself, to bring back. You're not a destroyer. You're not a monster. You're Sasuke Uchiha, and you're mine. One by one, the Rangers rose. One by one, the void's whispers fell silent. And when they stood together, 7 warriors united by something stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than any darkness the void could create, the void screamed. Not in victory. In defeat. You don't understand. it howled. You can't understand. We are inevitable. We are eternal. We are. You're nothing. Naruto's voice was quiet but absolute. You're nothing but pain pretending to be truth. Grief pretending to be wisdom. Loneliness pretending to be strength. And we've faced all of those before. We've beaten all of those before. He raised his morpher. Rangers? 7 morphers rose as one. Ready! Ninja spirit! Let's go! Tyrannosaurus. Mastodon. Saber-toothed tiger. Triceratops. Pterodactyl. Crow shadow. Ignite. Light exploded across the battlefield. Orange and red and yellow and blue and black and pink, and the deepest black of all, shot through with crimson. 7 rangers, transformed and united, standing against the darkness. The void tried to fight. Tried to whisper, to doubt, to break them again. But their light was too bright now, their connection too strong. Every time it tried to reach them, it encountered a wall of friendship and trust and hope that it couldn't penetrate. And then, together, they pushed back. Not with weapons. Not with attacks. Just with presence. The simple, undeniable fact of 7 people who refused to give up, refused to give in, refused to let the darkness win. The void screamed one last time. And then it was gone. In the aftermath, they stood together on the hill overlooking Angel Grove, watching the sun rise over a city that would never know how close it had come to falling. That was incredible, Kimberly breathed. Naruto, what you did, how you reached each of us, that was incredible. Naruto shrugged, embarrassed. I just said what I saw. What I felt. Anyone would have done the same. No, Sasuke said quietly. They wouldn't. That's what makes you different, Do. That's what's always made you different. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the light spread across the sky. What happens now? Trini asked. The void's gone, but we're still here. Naruto and Sasuke are still stuck in this world. For now. Zoran's voice came through their communicators. But I have been analyzing the energy signatures from today's battle. The void's defeat has created possibilities. Openings. One of them may lead to your home dimension. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged glances. Could we go back? Naruto asked. Today? Now? The opening is unstable. It would need to be approached carefully, with precise timing. But yes, it could be done. Naruto looked at Sasuke. Sasuke looked at Naruto. Then, without a word, they turned to the Rangers. We're not going, Naruto said. Jason blinked. What? But your world, your friends, are probably fine. They're strong. They survived worse than whatever happened when we left. Naruto's voice was firm. But here? Right now? You need us. The grid needs us. And, he hesitated, then pushed forward. And we need you. You're our team now. Our family. We can't just leave. You'd give up going home? Kimberly's eyes were wide. For us? For with us, Sasuke corrected. There's a difference. The Rangers stared at them for a long moment. Then, slowly, smiles spread across their faces. Well, Jason said. In that case, welcome to the team. Officially. About time. Zack grinned. We were getting tired of doing all the work. You do not do all the work, Billy protested. I calculated last week's battle contributions and… Billy, buddy, it was a joke. Oh. Right. Joke. I understood that. Everyone laughed, even Sasuke, though he tried to hide it behind a scowl. And on the hill above Angel Grove, as the sun rose on a new day, 7 Rangers stood together. Ready for whatever came next. That's how long they had of peace. 3 months of training together, fighting together, living together. 3 months of becoming not just a team but a family. 3 months of movie nights and juice bar hangouts and arguments over who left their dirty socks in the command center. 3 months of Sasuke almost, learning to smile. Then the nightmares came back. Sasuke woke with a gasp, his Sharingan active, his hand reaching for a kunai that wasn't there. The room was dark, familiar, safe, Jason's spare bedroom, where he'd been staying since joining the team. But the darkness felt wrong somehow. Thicker than it should be. More present. You feel it too. Naruto's voice came from the doorway. He stood there in his sleep clothes, orange pajamas with fox faces on them, a gift from Kimberly that he wore with unironic pride, his expression troubled. The void? Sasuke asked. Something like it. But different. Closer. They moved through the house silently, checking on the others. Jason was asleep, but his face was twisted in a way that suggested unpleasant dreams. Kimberly, in the guest room down the hall, was murmuring in her sleep, words they couldn't quite catch, but the tone was frightened. Trini and Zack were staying at their own homes, but when Naruto tried to call them, the phones just hissed. Like static, but wrong. Like whispers trying to become words. It's here, Sasuke said. Whatever it is, it's already here. The command center was in chaos when they arrived. Alpha was running diagnostic after diagnostic, his usually cheerful voice tight with strain. Aye, something's wrong with the grid. Energy readings are fluctuating wildly. Zordon, I can't stabilize. I am aware, Alpha. Zordon's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that Naruto had never heard before. Rangers. Something has infected the morphin grid itself. A corruption, subtle, but spreading. Infected how? Jason demanded. He'd arrived moments after Naruto and Sasuke, pulling on his clothes as he ran. It is difficult to say. The corruption is intelligent. It hides in the spaces between energy flows, evading detection. But its effect is clear. Ranger powers are becoming unstable, unreliable, and in some cases. The screen flickered, and an image appeared. A city in flames. Not Angel Grove, somewhere else. Somewhere with architecture that Naruto didn't recognize, with symbols that meant nothing to him. And in the streets fighting. Rangers. But wrong. Their suits were cracked, bleeding darkness. Their movements were jerky, unnatural. And their eyes, through their visors, Naruto could see their eyes, were completely black. What happened there? Kimberly whispered. That, Zordon said heavily, is what happens when the corruption takes hold. Those rangers are no longer themselves. They are vessels. For something that wants to use their power against everything they once protected. Can we save them? Naruto asked immediately. Silence. We don't know, Zordon admitted. The corruption is new. Unprecedented. We have no data on reversal, no treatment protocols. For now, our priority must be preventing it from spreading further. But we can't just leave them. Naruto. Sasuke's voice cut through his protest. Look. On the screen, the corrupted rangers had stopped fighting. They stood in perfect unison, their heads turning as if looking directly at the camera, at them. And then, in perfect synchronization, they spoke. We see you. The screen went black. The next 48 hours were a nightmare. Trini reported feeling watched everywhere she went. Zack couldn't shake the sensation of something crawling under his skin. Kimberly's arrows started misfiring, sometimes hitting targets she wasn't aiming at. Billy's computers showed him equations that made no sense, patterns that shouldn't exist. And Sasuke. Sasuke was changing. It started small, a flicker of darkness in his eyes when he thought no one was looking. A moment of disorientation during training, as if he'd forgotten where he was. A shadow that moved independently of his body. Then the whispers began. Sasuke. He heard them everywhere. In the wind. In the hum of the command center's systems. In the silence between words when his friends spoke to him. Sasuke, we know you. We remember you. You were ours once. You can be ours again. No. He said it aloud, startling Kimberly, who'd been walking beside him. No, I'm not. I'm not yours. I'm not anyone's. Sasuke? Kimberly's face was worried. Who are you talking to? He stared at her for a moment, seeing double, the Kimberly he knew, and a version of her with empty black eyes and a slack, hungry expression. I need to see Naruto. Naruto was in the park where he'd first awakened in this world, sitting on a bench and staring at nothing. When Sasuke found him, he didn't look up. You feel it too? Sasuke said. Not a question. It's in my head. Whispers. Images. Things I don't want to see. Naruto's voice was flat. It shows me all of you, dead. Because of me. Because I wasn't strong enough, fast enough, smart enough. Because I failed. That's not real. I know. But it feels real. That's the problem. Finally, Naruto looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. What if this time, I can't fight it? What if this time, the whispers are right? Sasuke sat beside him. Remember what I told you? In the command center, after the void attacked? Which part? You said a lot of things. The part about choice. About how all we have is the decision to keep going. Sasuke's voice was quiet but steady. That's still true. It's always true. The corruption, the void, the whispers, they can't take that away from us. Not unless we let them. But what if I do let them? What if I'm not strong enough to keep choosing? Sasuke was quiet for a long moment. Then I'll choose for you. Until you can choose again. Naruto stared at him. That's what you did for me. Sasuke continued. For years. When I was lost, when I'd given up on everything, you kept believing. Kept choosing. Kept fighting for me even when I didn't want you to. You think I can't do the same? But that was different. It wasn't. It's never different. That's the point. Sasuke met his eyes. We're connected, Dobe. Have been since the academy. Through everything, the missions, the fights, the betrayals, the deaths, that connection never broke. Not really. And it's not going to break now. Naruto's eyes were shining again. You're going to make me cry a second time, team. That's not fair. I don't play fair. You should know that by now. They sat in silence as the sun set over Angel Grove, two boys from another world holding onto each other in the face of darkness. It was enough. For now. The corruption made its move that night. Not through the Rangers, not directly. Through the people they loved. Jason's parents called him, their voices wrong, telling him they never really loved him, that he was a disappointment, that they wished he'd never been born. Kimberly's friends from the gymnastics team sent messages full of lies, accusing her of things she'd never done, turning her old life against her. Zach's mother, the one person in the world he trusted absolutely, looked at him with empty eyes and told him she wished he'd never become a ranger, that his powers had ruined their family, that she was ashamed of him. Billy's mentors in the scientific community published papers discrediting his work, calling him a fraud, a fake, a child playing at genius. Trini's meditation practice became a torture. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her own darkness, her own rage, her own potential for destruction. And Naruto. Naruto saw his friends from his own world. All of them. Sakura, Kakashi, Iruka, Jiraiya, alive again, somehow, even the Hokage. They stood before him in a row, and one by one, they told him they'd never really cared. That they'd only pretended to be his friends because of the Nine Tails. That he was alone, always had been, always would be. It was the most convincing illusion he'd ever faced. Because it tapped into his oldest fear. The one that had haunted him since childhood. The one that no amount of love or friendship had ever fully erased. You're alone. You've always been alone. You'll always be alone. He felt himself cracking. And then... Naruto. Sasuke's voice. Not in his ear, in his mind. Reaching through the corruption, through the whispers, through the carefully constructed illusion. They're lying. All of them. You know they're lying. You've always known. But what if? No what ifs. I was there. I saw how they looked at you. How they fought for you. How they loved you. That was real. That was true. Don't let this thing take that away. Naruto closed his eyes. The illusions kept talking, kept whispering, kept digging into his oldest wounds. But underneath them, he could feel something else, a presence. Warm. Familiar. Sasuke. Not the Sasuke from the void, or the corruption, or any of the false versions the darkness kept throwing at him. The real Sasuke. The one who'd chased him across dimensions. The one who'd punched him and hugged him and called him an idiot and meant it as a compliment. The one who believed in him. Naruto opened his eyes. I see you, he said quietly. All of you. And you know what? You're not real. You're just echoes. Shadows. Lies dressed up in familiar faces. But the real faces, the real people, they're still out there. Fighting. Believing. Loving. The illusions flickered. And as long as they exist, as long as even one of them is still fighting, I'm not alone. I'm never alone. He raised his morpher. Now get out of my head. Light exploded from him, not the orange of his ranger form, but something deeper. Something older. The light of 1,000 friendships, 1,000 battles, 1,000 moments of connection that no darkness could ever touch. The illusion screamed and dissolved. And Naruto found himself standing in the middle of the park, surrounded by his friends, all of them, even the ones who'd been attacked by their own loved ones' voices. They were battered, shaken, but standing. How? Kimberly gasped. How did you break free? I didn't. Naruto smiled, exhausted but genuine. We did. All of us. Connected. That's what the corruption doesn't understand. That's what it can't understand. We're stronger together. Always have been. Sasuke moved to his side, silent but present. His eyes were clear, the darkness that had been gathering there was gone. You called me, he said quietly. In my head. When the whispers were at their worst. You called me, and I could feel you, feel your belief, your stubborn, idiotic, unshakable belief, and it gave me something to hold on to. You called me too, Trini added. I heard your voice, Naruto. Telling me my darkness didn't define me. And me, Zack said. Telling me I was the heart of the team. And me, Billy echoed. Telling me my genius mattered. And me, Jason finished. Telling me I was the leader they needed. Naruto stared at them, bewildered. But I didn't, I was just fighting my own illusions. I wasn't reaching out to anyone. You were, Sasuke said. Through the connection. Through the grid. Through whatever bond we've formed over these months. When you broke free, you brought us all with you. On his wrist, Naruto's morpher pulsed with light, not orange, but gold. Pure, warm, living gold. The corruption. Zodan's voice came through, filled with wonder. It's retreating. Not just from you, from the entire grid. Your connection, your refusal to give in, it's acting like a beacon. A source of light that the darkness cannot abide. Naruto looked at his morpher, at his friends, at the city spread out below them, a city that would never know how close it had come to falling. So that's it? He asked. We won?